Hi, this is Steve from the Art Box. In this special episode, we're going to chat with Bobbie Ann Howell from Nevada Humanities and Kase Johnstun from Utah Humanities. Both are friends and both do quite a bit of good work in the area of humanities for our two states and quite truthfully on a national basis. As you may or may not know, the National Endowment of the Humanities is under great budget pressure in these times. If you understand what the humanities do and you can support them, please let your representative know. And if you'd like to make a donation, Bobbie Ann and Kase each leave links where you can donate. Thank you very much. Keep loving the humanities and keep loving art.
Welcome to The Art Box, your podcast dedicated to exploring the vibrant art scene in Nevada and beyond. Join us as we embark on a journey through galleries, theaters, studios, public lands, and streetscapes, meeting the artists, curators, archaeologists, nature lovers, and cultural influencers who shape our creative community and our world. Whether you're looking for your next cultural adventure, seeking inspiration for your own artistic pursuits, or simply curious about the world of art, tune into The Art Box. Together, let's open up a world of creativity and imagination. Let's dive in.
Dreams, what if the night is about you and me? So lift your head up to the
Bobbie Ann, it's great to see you.
Nice to see you.
And you've got a show tonight, Alina Lindquist, and we're down here for that ostensibly, but I wanted to bother you, if you're okay, and I am recording.
Oh, are we recording?
Yes.
Now you tell me I could have said something
I've
horrible.
just been blabbering my mouth. There's issues that I hear from you, and I hear from my friend Kase up in Utah Humanities that your funding's been cut.
Yes.
And I hear, everybody complaining back and forth and everything, and I understand all that. But I think that people need to know, what does humanities for Nevada, for Utah, nationwide, what does it do, and why is it critical that we keep funding humanities?
Well, you have to think also that humanities are all part of your museums, your libraries, your education, your anthropology, your storytelling, your oral histories, your family stories, the local history of where you're at, how you look at where you're at now, look at the future, what we've learned from the people in the past, how we can move forward, how we can empathize with each other. If I understand you and know more about where you're coming from, then, I'm more reasonable to accept you or whatever. So it's really important. It's everything in the human experience is the humanities. So a lot of people don't realize that they are in the humanities, and every aspect of what they do is part of that, your experiences and how we navigate with each other in our communities, in our families, in our nation, and in our world. And I think we can see that now because our relationships with each other, how has that changed? How can we build that with each other, get back to our commonalities, our relationships with our other countries, how they perceive us. And mostly they perceive us a lot through the humanities, whether it's literature, books, movies, music. Those are things that a lot of the world knows us by, and how we tell our stories. It's a commonality because wherever you're at, in Africa or Ireland, you have family stories, you have family recipes. You have a nation that's gone through time to be where it's at now and how it's going to navigate the future, what we hope for our children, what we hope for the land. Those are all things that the humanities is engaged in. And our primary work is really to find ways to connect people and share those voices. So in Nevada, sharing the voices of Nevadans and the Nevada experiences and amplifying, that's been important for us. And we just look for lots of different ways to do that. And our federal funding is, how we do that, whether we're granting to another organization who wants to build their organization history or tell a story from their community, or create an exhibit, or write an essay, or bring people together to talk about, agriculture or whatever it might be. We were able to help facilitate that.
And I think bringing people together is one of the most important things you do. And I'll just go, because I've been now 3 years to you guys help sponsor the Cowboy Poetry Gathering, and it brings together different people. It brings together city people who get to learn from me. I guess I'm a city person, kind of. I've certainly got to learn about the ranching way of life. And so when I go by a ranch or I encounter a rancher, I can talk to them. I know what they're doing. I know that they're trying to really do the same thing I do. They're just trying to get by and enjoy life, raise their families.
And provide something.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, we kind of forgot
part.
that about ourselves. I think that we're not really just consumers. We all actually try to provide something for our communities, for our families, for each other. So if you're in ranching, of course, you could raise beef for your own family, but why would you do that? I mean, you could, but, to raise it or raise alfalfa, or any farmer, what are they doing? And of course, for us as a nation, we feed lots of different places across the globe. Our alfalfa goes to Japan and all different kinds of places besides here to feed animals in those places, as well as beef and soybeans. I mean, we all are hearing about that now as these programs are impacted that actually took food and resources across the globe. Learning from them, learning those stories, and being able to understand a different way of life, like you find at the Cowboy Poetry Gathering, which is stories and music and poems and people from all over the globe. I've met people from all over the globe at the gathering, which has just been really great to meet Mongolians or French people, Spanish horsemen, just all different wonderful people, and just think about them and the kind of work they do and what we share on this landscape and how we have to survive together.
So what else?
Well, those are...
You have a lot there, so
I do have a whole... Well, because we're humanities and it's so broad, right? That's why our story is so big, because it's not just one thing. It's all these things. And so our talking points are get big because we produce programs and events that articulate the Nevada experience, and we work with other organizations to do that. We love to highlight the different diverse traditions of all the peoples of Nevada, which, Nevada has a large Indigenous population, immigrant population. We have people constantly moving in and out of our state in our urban centers. And we want them to learn about, where they're at in the desert. It's like we just had some visitors in here from Virginia, and they were talking about the weather. And, I was thinking it was kind of a cool day outside, comparatively speaking, because we had a cool breeze last night. Yeah. And just, having them notice that, you have mountains here. So it's, another one of those things that people have a different vision of Nevada from whatever their experience is. So we like to remind them of all the different places and people that you can have here, that you can be at 10,000 feet at the Bristlecone Pines, or down here with the Globe Mallows and the creosote in the valleys, or
we've got quite the state.
Mm-hmm. Or big sagebrush.
And I love that you just said Virginia people were here. That means people came to Vegas and got away from a casino for a few minutes and came to the humanities.
Yeah, there are
I
a lot
love
of
that.
people who come to our city here in Las Vegas. We're in our Nevada Humanities Program Gallery here in Las Vegas, and they want to see the people that live here. They're curious, so they'll come down to the Arts District, and they'll find us, and then I'll get to talk to them a little bit about Nevada and where they're from. So, this week I've met people from India, Virginia, Kentucky, California, and some people new to the Valley. So I get to say, welcome to Nevada, welcome home. And so we try to remind them that, you're a Nevadan whenever you decide to be one. It doesn't mean you give up wherever you came from, but you can certainly love here as well as wherever else that you've been.
Yeah, and you can go back there and you can remember it.
Of course. Well, we're kind of Nevada is a boomerang state. Like, people come and they leave and they come back. It always pulls you back.
The other big thing that humanities does is you're big for reading.
Oh, yeah.
And that's so important, that reading takes, especially kids, us adults, it takes us other places, and we don't have to spend the money to go there.
Yeah, many of our programs and a lot of the programs that we help sponsor, we do a literary call in Reno. We work with the city of Las Vegas here to produce the Las Vegas Book Festival. We have a program that's Nevada Reads, where we pick some books and do programs about those books throughout the year. We try to pick a youth author and another author to take to the National Book Festival here in Las Vegas. For the last 15 years, we've produced the Las Vegas Write series, which is Las Vegans, writing about Las Vegas, and working with Huntington Press to create that and just tell all the kinds of different stories that people have here in Las Vegas. And so reading is really important, and conversations that can go around that, whether it's reading about history or fiction or all different kinds of things that can open your mind to that. And taking the time to do that. I think we were talking a little bit about the joy of pondering things.
Yes.
And that's kind of important to have that time. Think about things. We created the Sagebrush to Sandstone book during the pandemic, which is kind of essays about nature, poetry, and some drawings and prompts. And we just really wanted people to get outside, think about where they're at, maybe read a poem, maybe write their own poem, maybe discover some plants or animals they didn't know about. But really just to take that moment, especially during that time where kind of forgotten about the stresses of that time, but how really stressful that was as we were trying to figure our way through surviving that pandemic, and to find some solace and respite and to be of service. So we're always, trying to figure out ways to do that and impact as many people as we can and reach them wherever they're at, whether you're in Las Vegas or Eureka or Ely or Elko or Wendover
Goldfield.
or Mina or Goldfield.
My new favorite place, Goldfield.
Or Tonopah.
Well, one of the things I also like is that you sponsor these readings, you sponsor poets, and then became really important during COVID, but it's remained. And I hope we don't forget these things, these person-to-person talks where we're going to share poems, share stories. I just think that's, we need to do that because that makes us, that's what humans are. We share stories.
We do, and we really love to amplify the voice of all kinds of Nevadans. We have our Double Down blog series, which are stories from people all over the state, all different kinds
And how does that
of stories. We invite people to write a blog for us, and before our budget cuts, we paid them a small stipend, so we're hoping to get back to that. That's probably been one of the hardest. Well, all of it's hard with budget cuts, but we always try to honor the people we work with, whether they're writing a poem or creating an exhibit or working and creating a book like Sagebrush to Sandstone or writing for Las Vegas Writes. So, there's an honorarium to go with that, the authors and things that come to the book festival. And those are how we utilize our federal funds, go right back to the community. So it's always hard to not be able to do that as we'd like to. But we're working on it. We have a challenge grant going on right now. The Mellon Foundation gave all the humanities councils across the nation, and there's 26 of them, a $200,000 kind of emergency award and then a $50,000 matching grant. So if we match that $50,000, that gives us $100,000 because they'll give us $50 and we'll make $50. So it helps, get us through all the kinds of things that we have to do, like pay rent and power bill and all the things that any nonprofit or business has to do.
Which in turn goes back to keep a small business owner here who owns these block of buildings. Mm-hmm. It keeps them going. It keeps the power company going.
Yeah.
Because if you turn off power to the block and the power company, and there's people who work there.
Well, reading at all ages is important. We're getting, we do also a youth poetry competition as part of the book festival called Spark. And we invite high school students who live in Clark County to submit their poems and then present them at the book festival. And
when I see kids now, they have their nose in their phone. And so when you have these kids recite a poem, write it and recite it, then they're in front of people. They're learning to talk to people. They're learning to converse, which is, I don't want to say it's a lost art, but it could be.
Well, it takes a certain amount of bravery because you're putting yourself out there. I've always been amazed by the students who have created work and recited them to this. I had Alejandro, was a young man who sent me an email maybe last year. He had submitted a poem his first time because we had a cash prize. And so he thought, well, maybe I can get a cash prize. And his second year, I think he won second place. And then when he was a senior, he won first place. And he told me, he said, I went for my interview at the University of Michigan, and he said, they wanted to talk to me about my poetry. And I got to tell them about my poetry and the poem I wrote for my grandmother that I never would have written if I hadn't been in Spark and didn't even know that I would love poetry so much. So you never know where something as simple as let's do a poetry competition for high school students will take someone. And, he was able to write and share something with a family member that means a lot to him, that he was amazed that other people were interested in. I mean, he told me, he said, I know I wasn't in there for hours, but it seemed like a long time that they wanted to talk to me about my poetry. And he said, just made me so relaxed in the rest of the interview.
Yeah, so it helped them with it.
So, it helped him.
It gave him confidence.
Took him someplace else. I'm not that he wouldn't have, succeeded without that, but it was nice of him to share that. And you just always hope that whatever you do with someone, we've had a lot of people that curate exhibits for us, and sometimes it's the first time they've curated something, and to learn what that's like, to think about a theme, gather the artists or writers or poets or history, whatever that it might be, and pull that together and make an exhibition and have a talk about it. And then I've seen a lot of those people go on and curate many other things and just do work. So, that's always exciting for us. Here in the Program Gallery in Las Vegas, we are able to host exhibitions that we normally host once every 2 months. We've kind of extended those dates due to the budget cuts now. So Alana Lindquist, whose exhibit's up right now, will be up through August 27th, and we're really grateful because this is an exhibit where she's been exploring she did a residency at the Mystery Box Ranch, and she loves to talk about and study our national monuments, and this show is about preserving and protecting our national monuments. And to see the study of gouache and photographs and drawings and oil paintings as artists. There's a long history of artists and writers, looking at, discussing, and sharing the landscape and how people learn and know about it. And we're happy to continue that tradition.
So Humanities helps people helps all of us, as far as I can say.
Well, it is you.
It is me, yes.
It's every voice, and what you have and your experience is important. And when you go to a library or a museum or go to a concert or someplace, they're trying to connect with you as we're trying to connect with you. So there's something that you have an affinity together, and it brings you together, and we have commonality, common goals, and we can do anything. I think that's kind of the joy of America, that we've always had aspirations to be able to go further down the road, lift someone up, to have a national park. Pretty amazing idea in the beginning. Let's set something aside that will keep as it is. and or in a community to even just have a park or a school or a library that we all decided we wanted and fund it together so we can have that. So yes, it is you, and every voice is important. And I think that's why at this time when we're all trying to figure out our pathway forward and want people to know who we are as Americans, what we find of value, and what we hope for. I mean, I want the future kids and people to see a mountain and visit a forest and find a book.
And sometimes when they can't, I'm looking at Alina's pictures here, and but having these national parks, these treasures, and then Humanities sends someone there, and they get a stipend, but gee, it's not much.
No one gets rich off of us, but we honor their work.
Yeah, so you're honoring their work, but these pictures are around now forever. So some of the children, some of the people who, for one reason or another, can't visit a national park, they get to visit a national park through art, through stories, through poems. Gee, I can't go there, but I've experienced it. Now, that's either going to make me want to go there, so I'll work very hard so I can get there, or maybe I just can't, but I still got to experience it. And I can come talk to it. And I've never been there.
Well, you can, I don't know, maybe take a cyber vacation there.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm all for cyber vacations as well. I think that's one of the joys of technology is being able to see our Earth from space, or log in and watch the bears in Alaska on a hot day in Nevada.
Pale blue dot.
So, those are just, I think, understanding our world, our place in it, our responsibility to it is really what we always strive in Humanities, that it is, we are stewards of everything.
Yeah. Well, Bobbie, I really appreciate it. And hopefully everybody who listens here will write to your public representative, write to many public representatives.
Yeah, whatever state you're in, this all of these things, the museums, the libraries, your national parks, your public lands, all of us in the West are very aware of that. It is your voice. It is, you are the people, we are the people. And you can always visit NevadaHumanities.org to find out more about us. Visit some of our programs. Alana's and our past exhibits are online, as well as our online programs we have on Twitch. So we're always trying to find ways to connect with you and check us out. But do get engaged in your community, whatever it is. Maybe it's in your neighborhood, your county, your city, your state. What you want of it is what we need to put into it. And we love Nevada and everything about it and love to share it with you.
Yes, we do. Well, Bobbie Ann, thank you.
You're welcome.
To our listeners, send those cards and letters to your elected representatives, no matter what level, local, state, federal.
Yeah, it's all your place.
Yeah. So, thank you, Bobbie Ann.
You're welcome. Come by anytime.
Thank you. Welcome, Kase Johnstun, to the Art Box, and Sandy Randell is with me. In case the other day I went to my friend Bobbie Ann Howell in Las Vegas, and she's the Humanities representative, and I asked her to tell our listeners what Humanities does in Nevada and nationwide if she can.
Yep.
Okay, so we wanted to ask you the same thing, because I think people hear Humanities, a lot of them probably think, yeah, what are they getting money for? What do they do?
Sure.
So I could tell them, but it would be better coming from you. And you are a representative of Utah Humanities.
Yep.
You have a job there.
I do.
You still have a job there.
As of right now. No, I still do. As of right now, I still have a job, at least until November 1, 2026, which is a lot better than it was a month ago or a month and a half ago. So,
okay, what's your job there?
I'm the director for the Utah Center for the Book, and Utah is represented to the Library of Congress. So the Center for the Book director, I'll start there. Every state has a Center for the book manager or director. They are the representative or affiliate to the Library of Congress's Center for the Book. They're housed, the Center for the Book managers or directors are housed at either usually the Humanities Councils or the state library system or a university. So ours is housed at Utah Humanities. I'm not sure if Nevada's is. Nevada's Center for the Book, I believe, is at the Humanities Council as well. Could be the state library. I'm not sure. And that director is Kathleen Kuo for Nevada for the Center for the Book. So I know Kathleen. I just don't know if she's at the Humanities Council or if she's at the state library. You know, our job is obviously to create literary programming throughout the state. Personally, I run and curate the Utah Humanities Book Festival. It's on its 28th year now, and it runs from October 1 to October 31. And it's going to happen this year, even though there have been massive cuts to the Humanities Councils. It is going to happen. I do have a job. But I was going to volunteer to make it happen, even if because it wasn't going to go down on my watch unless they stopped it. And I also run the Utah Book Awards, Humanities in the Wild, and then literary events throughout the state of Utah. So I represent Utah Humanities from the book angle. And so, I mean, that's, that kind of answers your question about what I do really personally with the humanities and what a lot of Center for the Book managers, directors do across the country for the humanities too, usually humanities councils or for the humanities programs at the university or humanities programs at the state library. And so we're linked all together.
Reading is important.
Reading is so important. And that's, there have been a lot of funding cuts. So that's what the worry is. And they're putting together, a big kind of sheet or white sheet is what they call it to show if there's lack of funding to these humanities councils in our situation, there's a lot of reading opportunities or literacy opportunities or book events that will disappear across the country. And that's scary on every different level. But yeah, that's where I play a role in the humanities. And the way we define it is that like the humanities is here not to create art, but to talk about why it's important and what art, why it's important to be human and, why it's important that books exists and the ideas in books. It's not necessarily to be the people creating workshops to write or do that type of stuff, even though we kind of sneak that in too. But the humanities are really there to discuss about what it means to be human. And that's through art, through theater, through politics, through everything that you can talk about. The humanities are here to just talk about what it means to be human and why that discussion is actually important. And so that's how we kind of draw the line between the arts and the humanities, where the arts are the creation and we're here to ask why we're what does it mean to be human, why that's so important to have that discussion about, our humanity. So, and that can be in any form, so. I like to think about books in one way, and that is that books are just ideas. They're really just ideas. I think that they are the vehicles to talk about what it is to be humans, and to read it through narrative, to read it through story is so powerful because every time you read a story and it's fiction or nonfiction or poetry or whatever it might be, we recognize that we're not alone in the world, that other people have these emotions, that we go through these things. We all struggle with death and life and loss and love and coming of age and all of these things. And books are really the vehicle where the authors themselves, I think, are the drivers of those vehicles, and the readers are the passengers, and they get to get in there and they just get to talk about it. So books are really just vehicles that talk about all these emotions. And kids, I'm 50 and I still don't get it, right, for so many different things. But every time I read a good book, I say, oh my gosh, somebody else gets what I'm feeling. And with kids, they're going through this coming of age and they're dealing with emotions and they're feeling so alone and they're wondering if they're the only person on this planet that's ever felt something like this. When they read it in a book, and that can be nonfiction or fiction or whatever it is, they feel less alone in the world. And what can we give kids right now? If we give kids that one thing to feel less alone in the world, and that every emotion that they feel is normal, that is something that is like you can't really quantify how important that is to kids. And books give them that feeling of, yeah, I'm okay because everybody else feels this way, right? Everybody else feels so strange and at times, and books can give that feeling of community instead of being alone. And I think that's more important to kids than it is to us, because we're set in our ways and we get stupider. as we
You
go.
think? I think I'm getting smarter.
I don't know. I feel stupider. I don't know.
The more books I read,
Yeah.
the smarter I get.
Yeah.
Well, probably not.
Well, I do things like on the way down here, I of course listen to books while I'm driving, but the only books I listen to are mysteries and thrillers. That's the only thing I have like the bandwidth for sometimes anymore, is the really kind of like whodunit. I should be reading like really, really serious literary stuff because it's what I write and that's what I do for a living. But sometimes it's like, man, just give me that thriller and keep me dumb.
Because we're kind of rural, I'd like to know, how does the impact humanities in Utah have on rural or underserved neighborhoods?
Oh, it's everything. The reason why we are different in the sense that we have this massive book festival on a very small budget, but the reason why we do so well compared to other humanities councils and why we're still, we're not thriving, but we're here where there are other humanities councils that have had to shut down recently because they've lost funding. Utah is still here, and places like Nevada are still here because over the last 50 years, it's our 50th anniversary, and we're going to make it through, dang it. We serve rural communities first. That's where our bread and butter is getting to places that Salt Lake City has plenty of money. They do in the arts and they do in the income taxes and they do everywhere. The universities are there and they've got a lot of money, but we really serve rural communities as much or more as Salt Lake and Park City and so on and so forth. And it's really important because, like, if you look at it, if you live in Salt Lake, especially downtown or even within the county, you have so many opportunities to find the arts, to be a part of the arts, to be all these because the funding is there and the marketing is there and the universities are, like I said, and the theaters are there, the museums, but it takes the humanities, especially Humanities Council specifically, statewide, nationally, but statewide, to take that money and go to those rural counties and give the rural populations or the marginalized populations the same opportunities they will get in Salt Lake City or in Vegas or in Reno, right? And so it's very, very, very important. So one of our biggest things at Utah Humanities is the museum on Main Street. And I'm not know if you're familiar with that, but it is every year the Smithsonian, I think it's maybe every 2 years. I don't run it. So sorry, Megan, for getting it wrong if I do. They take Smithsonian exhibit and those exhibits travel across the country and in Utah, it's Helper, which is really small, or it's Price, or it's Moab, or it's the West Desert. And so they have this circuit of museum on Main Street where they take those Smithsonian exhibits all across the state, and they're always in rural areas.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And so we all know we live in the West. We are so rural in so many places, and something like Museum on Main Street gives those rural towns opportunity to see Smithsonian exhibits come through, and they change them every year, every 2 years, something like that, because it takes time to make the circuit. But that's just one example. That's just one example of what the Humanities Councils do and what the Humanities do for rural areas. And it's so cool, right? And they come in. It's like, it always reminds me of Indiana Jones. They come in those big, shipment containers, and they open it up and they bring these pieces of art or whatever it might be from the Smithsonian, and they go directly, specifically to rural communities, not to Salt Lake and such.
Yeah, I think of the younger children who then get to go see that.
Yeah.
Who don't get to go to Washington, D.C.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
It's so cool. And there's so many programs like that. All states are different. What the humanities in different states are different. But that, we run the range of books to museums, and it really is my job personally is to get authors into rural Utah that these young kids or people cannot see in rural Utah. And it's our funding that flies the authors there and drives them there and gets them into, and that's really important because the funding from the rural areas, they don't have the funds to do that. So we get the bigger authors, and that's my job as a whole, is to make sure that we get these authors into rural areas. It's really, really important, especially in the Western United States. The West and Midwest, it's so important. The East runs completely differently. It really, really does, and we all know that. But in the Western United States, when we have these vast spaces between towns, and there's a lot of poverty, and it's very rural at times. Going back to your question, our focus, that is our number one focus, is to, connect the rural and the urban. through programming, and we have a lot of different programs to do it, but Museum on Main Stream is a great example of how cool it can be. And
Yeah, you do a good job of it in Utah, as does Nevada, and I certainly hate to see that go away. So where can our listeners learn more about Utah Humanities or National Endowment of Humanities, and how could they help?
Sure, and I would say for Nevada Humanities and Utah Humanities, just go to, I believe Nevada Humanities is nevadahumanities.org and utahhumanities.org, and just check it out. I mean, there's a lot right now when it comes to funding. The Mullen Foundation gave every state $200,000, and they gave each state an opportunity to match it. So if we get another 50, they'll give us another 50. So if Nevada Humanities is the same boat as we are, every state is. If we can get 50, then Mullen will give us another 50 so we can get up to 300,000. That can take us a long way. And that's just the basic funding stuff. To find out more about programming, go to our websites. The interesting part about humanities councils is we've always been seen as, or not seen, we've always been in the background. We're there just to support. So it's like we started, and most of the councils did, as granting organizations. We didn't have the Center for the Book. We didn't have Museum on Main Street. We didn't have Voices for Votes. We started as just taking money from the NEH in DC and distributing that money locally in Utah. And so, that's where we started. So we've always kind of been in the background. My programming of the Book Festival and Book Awards is the most forward-facing, public-facing one. But you'd be surprised if you go to Nevada Humanities, Utah Humanities, to see all the programming that you probably see in your rural local areas or within the cities and go, oh my gosh, they were the ones actually funding this the entire time. This really cool organization that I love has been getting grant money from Nevada Humanities for the last 20 years. So because we've always been that granting support organization. And so go check it out. You'd be surprised how many of those programs that you love are either provided through the through the Humanities Council, or through the Arts and Museums Councils in Nevada and Utah. People are always like, "Oh, you did that?" And you're like, "Yeah, we've done that for 30 years. We've supported that program." And that program could be anything like Coyote Tales, which is not far from here in St. George, which I love to death. We've been supporting that since Victoria started, and people don't know, but we just have our little logo there. And those are programs like that will not survive if we don't survive, which is really kind of scary too. Without going anything political, but more of like our funding is what's the word? Our funding is
very optional.
It's very optional at the moment. It's not guaranteed that we'll be here next year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Kase, I really appreciate it. And to Bobbie Ann Howell, too, who I talked to earlier. We're going to put these two episodes together.
Right.
Really appreciate it. And Sandi, everybody who listens to us on the Art Box, they love humanities, whether they know it or not.
Exactly.
They're listening to the Art Box, so
that's
why they're getting it.
And this is a perfect example of it. This is the humanities. You're talking about art and why it's important and where it comes from. And that's our definition of what it means to do.
So we would ask our listeners in the United States and our international listeners too, because we have 59 countries, support the humanities.
Yeah.
And in the United States, write your Congress people. And look up humanities.org, Utah, Nevada, and maybe make a contribution. None is too small.
None is too small, like I said, because we have that matching opportunity. That extra 100 goes a long way for Utah and Nevada. Some states it doesn't go a long way at all. But yeah, I mean, just take a look and see if there's a program that you've really enjoyed that you want to support, and give us that donation, and then tell us what was that programming. Yeah, it's good. We'll find out. I mean. Yeah, we'll find out here in the next couple of days. The next couple of days will show us, really interestingly, what 2026 will be like.
Okay. Well, Kase, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Broadcasting from the Mesquite Works Steam Center in the scenic Mojave Desert, the Art Box sponsors thank you for listening. You can find us on Spotify, Samsung, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, and Amazon Music. Please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We are on Facebook and Instagram as The Art Box. We welcome all comments. You can email us at artboxvv@gmail.com. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of its hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of our sponsors.